If by chance you are dreaming right now, wake up! Welcome to Horror Nights! Welcome, everybody, to another Horror Nights. Hope everybody's staying spooky out there. We got a very special guest kicking off the week, the one and only Victoria Vertuga. You know, I got a chance to watch your film, Lexi. Have to say right off the bat, big fan already.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear it. Thanks for having me on. Excited to talk with you.
You know, I always love to talk to directors and people that make films, and especially in the horror world. I'm a big horror fan. It's I mean, I grew up watching obviously what I was allowed to watch, but
And probably some of what you weren't allowed to watch a little bit.
Yeah, but like the taboo of watching horror film made it almost like I want to watch it. And then my dad allowed me to watch it. And then, having video rental stores and trying to get it. Well, this isn't really horror, it's a horror comedy.
Yeah. It's a thriller. Yeah.
Like Tales from the Crypt wasn't scary. That's a comedy.
No, absolutely.
And it just went on from there. And then, as an adult, I got to, with the way, everything is and such, I'm able to actually like delve deeper into the, subgenres. I can get into Italian giallos and, exploitation films, foreign films, French extremity films, whatever it is, because we have, I can buy both digital and physical media, pretty easily today.
And there's so many streaming services too that like so much independent stuff being made. So there's like just like endless opportunities, right? And that's what's great about horror is there's so many subgenres. Like it encompasses so many things. Like whatever you're into, I feel like you can find a lane, right? Because it's just such a broad category. And that's what
it is. People don't realize that. They're like, I hate horror. And I'm like, well, no, you probably hate 90% of the people I'll say you probably hate slasher films. But let me 100%. Show you something it's not.
They don't like slasher films or they don't like gore or that kind of thing, right? Or
yes.
But yeah, there's so many. I mean, there's so much more than that. That's
but then they watch something like Get Out and they're like, oh, I love this one. I'm like, well, that's a horror film.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in your case, Lexi, it was a mockumentary, but it was also something that, we could be watching live on somebody's stream. We don't know.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that kind of found footage. I mean, and that's kind of where it all landed. I was doing something else. I was doing independent wrestling, and one of my friends that's an independent wrestler also made some independent films.
Yeah.
And so, he did some horror stuff, and he was telling me about, all the horror conventions. I'm like, oh, there's horror conventions?
Oh, there are.
I just went nuts last year. I went to so many cons, and I go, I'm going this year too. Even this weekend, I'm going out to Jersey.
Nice.
For Monster Mania. Very excited. And but I got to meet people that were independent filmmakers, and that set me on a journey of, wow, there's a whole underbelly, and even more intriguing. Without the Hollywood producers, people are allowed to tell their stories unedited, unfiltered.
Totally.
One of my first interviews was with Fred Vogel. He did the August Underground series. Yep. Very crazy films.
Yep.
But I also got to watch his newer stuff like The Final Interview, which is a totally different horror, different drama. But that's not something that Hollywood produced, and it's not something that you can find in a movie theater. You need to find it on the independent level, and I think that's the allure. You can tell almost any story, just self-funded.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it allows for a lot more creativity too, which is one of the things I like. I think people take more risks that way, right? Because they're not beholden to anybody. They don't have to answer to anybody. So you see a lot more of people like really leaning into their vision and using their voice and being creative and taking risks. And I think that's what's really cool. You can definitely find some really great gems in that. And even if like you don't enjoy the entirety of something, I feel like it's really cool to see like there'll be bits and pieces that you can glean from it, right? Things that like really worked and things that were really cool that maybe you haven't seen elsewhere. And that's
exactly cool. And it's also a good place where people can put out these art house films that, while they might not be something that everybody's into or the mass market wants to see because it's not marketable, it's somebody's story or something that they want to share, a vision or something. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everything has to be, made for the fact of, I feel like in Hollywood, you get these movies, they're great, but if the movie's bad, it doesn't really matter because they got already the figures being sold. The character, the killer themselves is already merchandise.
Yes.
The characters are bigger than the plot at that point.
Yeah,
Like
it's also,
Scream.
I think it's a lot of like, I think there's this thing that happens where you try to make something for the most people, it's inherently bad, right? Like there's something that happens when you're really specific that I think actually you become more relatable, because by being very specific, you're being like really honest and vulnerable, and that tends to land with people and they can see themselves and their specifics in yours, if that makes sense. But when you're really like trying to be like broad and appeal to everybody, it's just a losing battle, right? You can't possibly appeal to everybody all the time. It's impossible as an artist to do. So I think that that's a losing game. I think you're
No,
setting
yeah, you got a bigger demo, so the bigger the demo, the more people to kind of be like blah. And plus the expectation factor. When you see a
yeah,
budget of $1 million, it's like, okay, this
yes,
better be good or whatever. But if
yes.
it's an indie film, you can always, well, I'm working with, such and such budget. It is what it is.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. And sometimes I think that's actually cool as a filmmaker, because I think sometimes limitations can be a gift because you can lean into them. And that was kind of the deal with Lexi. Like, it was such a minimalist film and I'd never really done anything that way. And because we had this like very small box to play in, it was kind of a fun creative challenge to be like, okay, what can we do within these limited parameters? How can we be creative? How can we use our limits to our advantage, right? And like lean into it. And I think sometimes those can be really like fun challenges as a filmmaker.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think just, filmmakers in general, or FX arts or whatever, they always try to just find, whatever's lying around. I got plastic, this, that, I'm gonna make it into this. I was talking to a guy that's into Foley sounds artist, and he was just telling me, they just use any old things around just to make random sounds and make things work. And how would you make the sound of splashing blood, and how would you do this? And I find that intriguing because we're just using resources. And the same thing, I made a couple of 2-minute films, an 8-minute short, a couple of things, but it's
Yeah.
just me here. So I got a tripod, my black K for Magic Cinema, and whatever I got for props and stuff, and I just try to make it work for fun. And
Yeah,
you
it's
know
a good creative exercise because you're like, what do I have
it is,
available to me?
because
So what can I
I
use,
plan
right?
on doing some work with other people, but he was just like, one day I'm like, look, I'm bored. Give me something to do. And he was just like,
Yes.
well, make a film about hearing voices. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I just spent the day filming a short film about hearing voices or something. And I end up like
Yeah.
hearing something, and I went into the bedroom, and like again, I'm limited. So I go in the bedroom, you hear a scuffle, I come out all bloody, and I'm like, it ends, whatever. And then at the end you hear like my wife come in and go like, what did you do to the cleaning lady? And
Uh-huh.
it just like ended, and I'm just like, again, it was just something fun to do. I don't do films because I'm trying to make markets. I do film because I love camera. I
Yeah.
love film. I love the idea of it. I love the colors. I love changing colors. I love the way that you could take any film and just change the color grade and it will be almost a totally different
Totally
film.
changes the feel of it. Absolutely. There's a whole science behind that, on colors and like the emotional the way they resonate with us emotionally and how that affects the way that we view things. And that's why like I love there's an Instagram, I can't think of the name of it right now, but where it talks about that, like just it goes over the color palettes of all the various movies and like the tones and what that means. And like, you'll see obviously common themes, yellow means this and reds mean this and whatever. But it's really cool, that color theory, and that can have a huge impact. Same with some music, right? That you change a few things, you tweak a few things, and it completely changes the way that we
Oh
respond.
yeah, you can change just a couple of beats and it'll become a whole different genre, same song, and I like that though. I mean, I got a documentary of Texas Chainsaw with 8 different cuts on it because they're graded in 8 different ways, and
All
they
different.
all give you a little bit of a different feeling. You
Totally.
know, I mentioned Italian Giallo earlier. They use
Yep.
lighting and that to just that nobody ever seen in the U.S. It's this
Yep.
crazy lighting and it's just obscure, but it all plays into the drama of the movie.
Absolutely. And I feel like that genre particularly has had a really profound impact on a lot of like our most beloved filmmakers, right? A lot of them were very inspired by that giallo genre. And
So
you
we
can see
start to see
that
these
in their work.
abstract colors.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But let me ask you, I mean, what
Yeah.
inspired you in horror? Were you always just a horror girl? Did you grow up loving horror?
I did grow up loving horror. Yeah. So when I was really young, my dad made me and my sister watch Silence of the Lambs because he was a psychiatrist and he thought it was really funny that the guy was a psychiatrist. And I was like way too young to be watching that. And then he actually hid under my big sister's bed while she was asleep and like jumped out at night and scared her. So that was our horror first horror experience. And that's still one of my favorite movies to this day. But yeah, I've just always loved it. I love the, like, again, there's just so many things that there's so much horror encompasses so much stuff, right? But I just love, again, I feel like for a genre, you see more risk taking being done in horror than like many other spaces. So just as a watcher and lover of it, I think that's always so cool. I also just love, there's something really fun about getting got, right? Like I love a jump scare. I love getting got, and then like the laughter that comes at the end of it. I love the tension and the release, and like I just think it's just a fun genre. So yeah, I've loved it. I've always loved it.
I love it too, and the fact that also that you can go anywhere. Like, okay, like, you know, if you run a comedy movie, you can do a couple things. You can do a comedy, a parody, an action. Maybe you do an action movie, it's an action movie. You do a
Yes.
sci-fi, it's sci-fi. But you could do a horror sci-fi. You could do a horror comedy. You could do a horror
Yes.
action film. You could do a horror other genre.
Yes.
I've seen horror western.
100%. Literally everything. And I feel like it's less predictable, right? Like if you're watching an action movie, like it kind of becomes a little bit formulaic. Like we know what we're getting, and that can be fine. That can be, you know, like comfort food for people, and that can be whatever. But like with horror, I feel like it's less that way, right? Like there's so many ways you can go, and there's so many subgenres and so many things that it's like it can like I feel like it surprises you more than most genres.
It
right?
does, and then like I jump into the foreign film, and then you just end up with like, you don't know what's gonna happen. You get bleak endings like Happy Games, where you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yes.
You know, and it's like I like that too, because I don't really believe every horror film needs this happy ending. I like to be left in suspense. I like to be scared at the end of it and know, hey, this isn't just always rainbows and happy.
Yeah, it doesn't always wrap up like neatly, right? Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely. And even if you look at like the basic of story in general, like I think we've kind of gone away from tragedies, but in the sense of like, so there's comedy and tragedy, like from a basic story standpoint. And so in a comedy, it just means that the character has made choices away from like their flaw and earned themselves a happy ending. And in a tragedy, they have made choices that lean into their flaw and have earned themselves a sad ending. And there's like a justice in that, right? Like not all characters deserve a happy ending, right? Not all characters have earned a happy ending. So I think that can be really gratifying to see that.
And I mean that's cinematic justice movies. Like I Spit on Your Grave. You wish for the you're cheering for the girl, you know.
Right.
But even movies like I said, like I watched recently, and I've watched it a few times, but I actually enjoy the film. It's Speak No Evil.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
They made 2 versions of it though.
Yeah.
There's the original and then the American remake. The American remake is a Hollywood blockbuster.
Of
the
course,
ending
always.
is crazily cinematic, and but the original is just brutally real, you know. You just boom. And I compare the 2 often because it happens a lot, I think, with American cinema, that we just want that cinematic boom at the end. We want that action packed good guy survives, and it's just like
100%. Yeah, especially in recent time.
It takes away from the realism of the horror.
Totally. We see that a lot in like adaptations too, in all kinds of genres, like of books and stuff. It's like they rewrite a book with a, you know, that's a tragedy with a sad ending and make it a happy ending. It's like, yeah, Hollywood definitely loves to lean into a happy ending, for sure.
And that's where again I like the independent versions, or the people that had the lesser budget to run these films, or the foreign versions, because again they can write the endings they want. They don't need to be told, hey, your script is too dark, we're gonna go in another direction.
Exactly. The audience didn't like it, you know. They like they did a test screening and they wanted a happy ending, so you got to make it a happy ending. Yeah, for sure. It's like it's more their vision. It's why you see, I think, even with Hollywood movies, if you watch like the director cuts, so often the director cut is so much darker. The ending is like fucked up and weird and dark, right? Because that was the director's vision. But to your point, the studio wants a happy ending. So,
studio wants something they can sell in the theaters and people are going to buy and maybe even come back and see. And the director just wants to tell their story, you know.
Yeah.
But now, like you said, you always had a passion for horror. Did you also have a passion for the camera and making cinema and making like producing stuff?
So no, I started as an actress, and then I basically was just kind of frustrated with the like quality of auditions and roles I was going out for and that kind of stuff. And I got tired of playing a hot blonde, dumb blonde, and hot dumb blonde. So I started writing. And I've always been a writer, but I hadn't always been a screenwriter, right? So I developed that skill, and then I just decided like if I wanted to have, you know, more interesting and complex roles, I would have to write them for myself. So that's what I started doing, and then started producing and directing and wearing all the other hats that came along with it. And there was something so amazingly empowering about that, because as an actor, you're very much at the mercy of other people's decisions, right? You have a limited role to play, and like you have no say in like the outcome of or the finished product or any, you know, of the things along the way. And so it was really gratifying to like have the control over something, and also just to be the person in charge of the set and like set the tone for the people that I hired to work with, and like make a really great group of people together, and also, you know, treat people with the respect and the that I wish I was treated with on some sets, you know what I mean? And just like lead with the joy and the fun and the love of the process. So that's been really gratifying. So yeah, that's kind of how I started like producing and whatever. Obviously, I've always been a lover of film, right? But my background started just as an actress, and then it started wearing all the other hats kind of by necessity. And I think it's great.
No, no, I
Yeah,
get that, you know, and I've done a few roles here and there just for IMDb credit, just to be part of a set or see what's on the stage again. Because
yeah,
and there's also just the helping hand, you know, like if in the indie I see that a lot. You know, one will help somebody, and then somebody will use them for sound because they do sound, and everybody just kind of helps each other get their vision done.
totally. It's more of a family, right? It's more like people stepping in and wearing multiple hats and doing multiple things and be like really what you want on a set like that, like on a low budget indie set. I feel like
Yeah,
it's like people to
people are
be
just
game, like people to be helpful and like excited and like just game to jump in where they can and like lend their expertise wherever they can.
well, that's the thing. I mean, without the big paydays, and you get those out of the picture, because let's face it, most indie actors aren't getting big paydays or giving out. But I mean, the idea of it is for you know everybody that's on the team to believe in your idea, to believe in your vision, and everybody to want to see it succeed equally. And once that happens, you know, it's magical because it happens a lot because they see, you know, the director working harder or just as hard as everybody on the set or doing the
Correct.
multiple roles. They
Yep.
jump in and they
Yep.
want to help. And everybody wants this
Exactly.
project to go, and then it just steamrolls right to
100%.
success.
I think it's such like there's such a contagious attitude and energy on a film set, especially. So like it's top down, right? Like if the person in charge is like leading with that enthusiasm and energy and excitement and love and all that, then like that trickles down. And if the person up top is like, you know, grumpy and stressed and all the things, then that trickles down as well. So I definitely think that's really important. I think what's great about film is it is such a collaborative art form, truly, that it's really cool how everyone gets to leave their mark on it, and it is so different at the end because of everyone bringing their stuff to it, right? Really is greater than the sum of its parts, and that
It
is such
is
a
because I mean,
beautiful
even
cool
with
thing.
the limited roles or limited what you can do in the roles, you can still make it your role, so it still belongs to you. Like
Yeah,
for instance, I mean, it might have been written a certain way, you know, like Jack Torrance as Jack Nicholson, written a certain way, but there's no other Jack Torrance but Jack Nicholson. You
correct.
know, it might have been the director's version, but we don't think of it other than that. It became the actor,
Of
and
course.
so you end up becoming this role, even if it's for 15 seconds. It doesn't matter. You become an icon for a little bit because even if they wrote you that way, you put your special way into it, the
Yeah,
way your
exactly.
mannerisms are, and so
That's you know,
forth.
it's like we have an outline, right? The script is the like an outline, or the script is like the black and white thing, and we're coloring it in with our choices, right? And that's what's great. That's what I mean. It's like it's really awesome because as a writer, I've experienced that. It's so cool. You have an idea of something and you create the thing, and then someone comes in and you know adds their special sauce to it, and you're like, oh my god, it's even better than I imagined. Or like they're doing something different than I saw, but like what they're doing is so cool, and that again, that's just so great. It's like everybody again is like the end product always ends up with everybody's little, you know, touches on it, and that's so beautiful because it makes it so much like more full of life, I think, and so much more interesting.
It does. Was it hard making the jump from just writing to screenwriting? Is it a big difference?
Oh yeah, screenwriting is a very exacting art form, and it's an art form of less is more, right? Like the white space on the page is so important. You have a limited amount of time to tell a story, especially these days. Like even though we have all these kind of guru directors, like with these long movies, when you're a screenwriter and you're especially if you're trying to sell something or pitch something, it's like a feature has to be under 100 pages. Nobody's reading anything over 100 pages, so you know, less is more again, and it's like you have to use the fewest amount of words for the most impact. And I think that's what's really challenging and awesome about it. You know, whereas a novel, it's like up to you. You can have as many hundreds of pages as you want to tell something, right? You're not
You really can deep detail in. The
100%. It
conversation can go on forever.
exactly. You can have tons of, you know, what we call like just this description. You can have tons of action in your stuff. So with screenwriting, it's not. It's like a very minimalist art form, and so that is really challenging. And structure is really important. You know, I had to really learn story structure. We grow up watching story and reading story and consuming story, so we kind of feel it in our bones. But it is a different thing to have to like really break it down and have to create that, you know, so that it feels like correct to people. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah,
you have
no,
like
I do a little bit of screenwriting, and I find it just for me the most difficult part is just getting the formatting down. Once I can get the formatting down, I think I can get it. Most of my stuff though has to be edited anyways. I mean, my trailers end up becoming short films, my shorts become features, everything gets cut completely. I'm one of those people as I'll shoot, you know, I'll shoot enough for a 3-hour feature, but it will be like 10 minutes long because
Oh
at the end of
yeah.
the day, I'll either repurpose that. I might have stuff that I want to cut in or edit, or I just didn't know. I overcompensate just because I don't want to undercompensate.
Right, for sure. I mean, that's just filmmaking in general too, right? It's like that's how it's like so many day like, every day of filming you're getting like all this footage that's going to be cut into like, 1 minute or 2 minutes or whatever. So yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember going to some of these cons and listening to people talking. They're like, "Yeah, we filmed this scene for 9 or 10 hours," and I'm just like, "That scene was 2 minutes in the movie."
correct. I know it's so funny because people always want to be in like my projects, and so sometimes I'll throw like a friend or family member that isn't an actor and stuff in there for like a small cameo thing, and they're always like, "Oh my god, like this takes so long, it takes forever." And I was like, "Yeah, so welcome to filmmaking. It takes forever, right?" They're like, "This is like 30 seconds, and I was here for 6 hours." And I'm like, "Yep, that's how it goes."
Well, we needed all the different shots and everything,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah. You got, lighting setups take time. You're like making sure the sound is clean. Yeah, getting all the different shots that you need and the different angles and the different, cuts and all the things. So yeah,
it's not like Hollywood, which got like 6 or 7 cameras rolling.
camera's running
Sometimes
out of
just one
time. Yeah, I
camera.
wish.
So
Yeah.
you're going one at a time, and you're changing your shots, you're
Yep.
changing your
Yeah. Yep. Got to
lenses.
turn it around, and yep. Yeah, it takes a long time. So people, I think that is always one of the things that people outside of the industry are the most like shocked by, just how long things take. Right.
And I think I learned that just doing a short film on my own, just because, like I said, just trying to get the different shots, making it work,
Yep.
going through the times it doesn't work,
Yep.
then my own mistakes, then the final product, then going back and making, doing a few things over.
Always. Yep. Reshoots.
Yeah. Yeah. And then trying to keep the continuality. I had like the clothes that I was wearing just set aside, so I know that I'm wearing that during this day and this during that. So
Oh
everything,
yeah, continuity is a nightmare. That's why they have script supervisors on sets, right? To track all that shit because it's
but
like so
even
much
Hollywood screws it up. You'll
all
see it all
the
the
time.
time.
Every single project has continuity errors because we can't possibly keep track of all the things, right? It's yeah, totally. But it's also amazing. I think when you start filmmaking, you realize too, like how forgiving an audience can be in the sense of like you can get away with a lot of mistakes, right? If your story, like if we're most
Story's good.
invested
They don't
in
care what they're wearing,
correct,
basically.
correct. Like no, exactly. Like you can be forgiven for many sins if like the important things are good, right?
But yeah, so I mean, like you said, you started writing your own, which I guess is great because you're writing even as your own character. You know your strengths and flaws.
Yes, absolutely. And I know what I find me fun and challenging, and I get to do whatever I want, right? Like I get to lean into those things, and so that's been really satisfying. Really really fun to get to like again play more complicated, messy, interesting characters.
So was Lexi the first film you wrote?
So I had done other things. It was the first feature I wrote. Yeah. At least the first feature that I shot. So yeah, I had done like shorts and web series and a couple pilots that we'd written and produced. But yeah, that was the first feature. And we actually had another project, Kobozo, and this other feature that was ready to go. And then COVID, the lockdown happened. So obviously, everything was halted, the industry shut down, we couldn't film. So I don't sit still well. And I was like, I still want to like do something during this weird time. So
Yep.
me and my writing partner were just trying to come up with something we could do that was like so minimalistic, where it's like mostly me in the house because it's just me stuck in the house during COVID lockdown. So started brainstorming ideas and kind of came up with that. So that is basically why it is how it is, because it was
No, but I like it like that because I mean I've even seen ghost stories that are done like this. You'll see like four friends doing a chat, and the whole movie's through a chat.
Yep. That was a big yeah, screen things, whatever. That was like a big subgenre during that time as well, because people were like experimenting with that because we were all on Zoom. And yeah,
that's the way though that I think the industry as a whole, especially even on the independent scene, adapts. We find ways of getting around things.
Absolutely, exactly, because that's what's so great is like that spirit and that desire we have to keep creating, right? It forces us to lean into our circumstances and find ways to continue to do it. And sometimes people come up with really freaking cool things that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. So that's really fun. Yeah, Lexi was a really like interesting thing just because of how it came about and like the time period and how we had to shoot it and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a very weird, unorthodox process.
I think just after a certain amount of time, anybody with any creativity starts to get itchy. They want to create something. It doesn't matter if you're a painter, an artist, a musician, something.
100%. Doesn't matter the outlet, but you need the urge, that like need to create is there regardless of the outlet. Yeah.
So you wrote Lexi though, and like I said, I'm a big fan of it because of multiple reasons. I like the whole podcasting thing, or the whole influence the thing,
Influencer.
because I
Yeah.
do believe that influencing has such a dark side to it that we don't see. The mental health, the toll that it takes, the
100%.
sometimes the reason these people are even doing it, how they are on camera versus how they're off camera can be startling.
Oh, definitely.
Um, and just how rapidly somebody can come to power and rise without really doing anything, and then people backtrack and going, "Well, who is this?"
100%. Yes. Like someone's like this overnight sensation for, whatever reason, something they have goes viral and they become like it's also, we have a lot of like self-proclaimed experts, which is interesting, right? People who are like spouting off advice and or framing themselves as an expert, whether it's like fitness or nutrition or Lexi in the wellness space or whatever. And that, but it's like, who are these people and are they qualified to be giving us advice?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
should
I
we be
grew up
listening
with
to them?
someone like, okay, yeah, we got Richard Simmons doing his show. Okay, yes, okay, he's a health person. We know, we can identify him. He's been on other shows talking about health. But when you get these self-proclaimed people, I've done this, and I'm a yoga
Yes,
master, and there's no one else to question it. It's like, well, who are we following? What are we following?
exactly right. Yeah, and I've always also been obsessed with kind of this idea of like we have this really sick part of us that loves to watch people spiral, right? Like we love to watch someone like be taken down and like it's like, especially with female celebrities, we see it all the time. We see it with like Britney Spears is a prime example, right? Like when she had her first meltdown like so many years ago and shaved her head, it's like there's something that like people like to watch, that they like to watch somebody like lose their shit and spiral. And so I was very interested in that idea for Lexi, of like these people kind of schadenfreude, like enjoying her losing her shit.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because people aren't open enough about it. People don't talk about the mini breakdowns that happen before the major breakdown. All the stuff that led up to it. People are very hush about that. So nobody knows about the mental health problem until it's
It's too
exploded.
late. Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Until
But if
exactly.
we
So
were
it reaches
more
like a
open
boiling
about it,
point.
or if we had more films like this to show someone's slow decline or
Yes.
spiral out, it brings awareness.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that was like really interesting thing to explore. You have you just have you have somebody who's like has this public persona and then has these private battles that and then people are watching it and consuming it, and like maybe somebody needs help and is like crying out for help and people are just watching it but no one is doing anything, right? Like no one is trying to help that person even though it's very clear that like that person needs help. So that's just an interesting idea to explore.
Well, I mean, I think that's the other edge of it. We see these people on YouTube and this, and we know they're making some kind of finances because you can see the numbers. So it's like, do they really need help? Are they just playing us? Are they
100%, we
playing
don't
with?
know, right?
We don't know. So a lot of people are hesitant when they see a lot of crises. A lot of them are like, "Well,
Is this
that's just for
real?
clicks. That's for
Yeah.
views."
Absolutely. Yeah. The internet is an
And
interesting space, right? Because it's like we don't know. And there's like the public persona versus the private life. And then, how much things are like finessed and manipulated and manufactured, and we just don't know. Yeah.
you starred in this one as well.
Yes, correct.
You played, Lexi.
Yeah.
So how was that, both being director and playing lead pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, Lexi was such a weird, unique experience. So, like in general, when you're doing both, it's actually very challenging. Like, it's very challenging to be in so many scenes and also direct it. I prefer to direct when I'm like a smaller part. I have like a smaller role, because otherwise you have to like really rely on your DPs and your other people to like be doing the camera stuff while you're jumping back and forth and running back and forth. But because Lexi was so weird, like it was filmed so differently, it was actually like a really cool thing to do because it was very minimal. Again, it was like me and my house, and we, obviously we had like basically either I'm doing like the video vlogs and stuff, or I'm doing like utilizing the security cameras. So it was like a little bit easier to kind of manage, but it was a very interesting process because we did it piecemeal. Again, I was stuck at home. My husband has like a normal job, so we had to work around his schedule, and like
Yeah.
so, I would like fit it into our schedules and film a couple things this day, a couple things that day, and like send it to my writing producing partner and be like, here's what we got today. And also Lexi was interesting because a lot of it, like we had the script, but a lot of it we found in the filming process. There were things that were in the script that just didn't work when we actually filmed it. And there were things that we tried later that weren't in the script that like worked better. And, it was a lot of like trial and error with Lexi. And it wasn't, usually when you're shooting a feature, it's like we have 20 days of filming and it's like very regimented and very, scheduled, and it's that's what it is, and then you're done. But Lexi, because we were filming it over time, it was just like a much more kind of like free formed process.
If
To
things came up or you had an
Yeah,
idea, you could just add it in.
correct. Yes, exactly. It was much like less structured
And
than
almost
normal.
as a project to pass the time during COVID, kind
Pretty
of.
much. Yeah, exactly. So it was actually really fun. It was really cool to do it. It was obviously much different than a normal project. So the directing was it was a lot easier to manage both of those roles,
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
and I think that was my first thing I realized, when I got an actual, like, camera,
Yeah.
that it's not a phone, okay, first of all, so it's a little bit different shooting on it.
It is very
You
different.
know,
And
I
yeah,
bought
and
and
very
I
different depending on what you have, right? Like depending on yeah.
I bought a 30, a couple lenses, a 35 millimeter, a 55 millimeter, both manually focused. So I mean, right off the bat, that's different. It ain't, present play, but I love it because you have total control.
Yes, you do.
But when I'm doing these self-shot scenes, I'm sitting there, with the hidden, US, cord, and I got my field monitor, and I'm looking at my field monitor. I'm looking up at the camera. I'm like, okay, this isn't going to be easy because it
It's
takes
a
me a
lot
long
to
time. I don't have a
manage.
camera guy. It's just me.
Yes.
But, you gotta check this because, again, it's only what's in frame, and
Yes.
it doesn't catch more than what's in frame.
Correct.
So, if you're not in frame of this, you just wasted everything. There's been many a times where I've done it thinking I'm in frame, and I'm like, "No." That's why I bought the Field A, because I was like, "I can't tell if I'm in frame. I need to actually physically see what I'm seeing."
Yeah, absolutely. It's a
So
lot to
that
manage, especially if you're doing it totally by yourself. Yeah.
So then a lot of scenes I changed and just made it so I would be able to just kind of be walking and I just track myself, and that was a little bit easier because
Yeah.
I'm not sitting there physically. But you know, like I said, I think that it was an eye experience because coming from using a phone to do a lot of things, phones are just so run and go. You just you press a button,
Yeah,
it turns on. It's
it takes the
already
guesswork out for you, right? It's already gonna focus, it's already gonna do the thing, and yeah.
focus is in there, the lights all set.
Yep.
You
Yep.
don't have to play with anything.
Yep. Very different.
And then, I shooting on that, and then, like I said, the fun part begins. I shoot everything in log, and then I just bring it into DaVinci and just sit there for, hours playing with colors, contrast, dark, light, changing everything.
Yeah.
And then I spend another, day because I also enjoy putting sounds and sounding stuff. So like I said, I'm wearing multiple hats, but I'm just learning. It
Yeah,
might be
no,
just
it's I think
small
wearing multiple
budget, but
hats, it's a great way to learn because whatever you do, like whatever piece you end up doing, like for me as an actor, like when I started writing, it made me a better actress. When I started directing, it made me a better writer. When you understand the editing process, it makes you a better director, right? Because everything is so linked together. So the more you understand about all the components of filmmaking, the better it makes you at whatever thing you're doing because you understand the whole process and how it all goes together. And I think it makes you like a more empathetic collaborator too because you can anticipate the needs
does.
of the other people along the process, so it's just like it's just good. The more knowledge you have about all the stuff, the better you are, the better off you are.
Yeah, because like I know I'm gonna be doing a couple of films with a friend, and we're gonna be doing collabs and stuff. And sometimes he'll be directing, sometimes I might do directing with I might be
Yeah,
acting small roles. But at the end of the day, I won't be having to do any of the other stuff. It'll be sent off to an editor. We'll have a sound guy. We'll have all this. So at least knowing how to do it, I can be like, well, okay, cool. I don't mind giving it away because if I had to, I could do it myself. And
yeah,
also, it's just like I can talk their lingo
I
too.
was
If
just
they
gonna
have
say
questions,
exactly. You're way
I
more prepared to,
understand.
yeah, you're way more prepared to have discussions with them about what you want and what you like and your vision for the thing because you've done it yourself, and so you can speak intelligently about it, right? So that's like such a leg up. That's great.
Yeah, so and again, some of it I find it just to be relaxing because I do enjoy, like I said, taking something, changing the color, all of a sudden it becomes a different film. And like I said, just two things: the color and the sound can
Huge.
change the difference between a happy,
Oh
looking
my
video
god,
to a scary looking video.
absolutely, absolutely.
Let me ask you: was this being your first feature? Was it self funded out?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was also we made it for so cheap because again, we made this during COVID and like I basically just paid my other actors that were in it, like the people who played the experts for the mockumentary, and I bought that mannequin head, and that was like the gist of our costs. So we had like basically no costs on it.
Oh,
Um,
that's nice.
yeah, so yeah, that's why it was a great like experiment. It gave us a lot of freedom, and then we also were able to kind of use it as a guinea pig project to self distribute this, so that way we could understand the self-distribution process and understand the distribution process in general and kind of be set up for the future for future projects to be way more informed because it had such a low bar. We didn't have an investor attached. We didn't have anybody to answer to. We didn't have
No
any.
self fund,
Yeah, so it
no
was
fan
just
fund.
it was like we were like free to do what we needed, and it like took the pressure off, right? Which is great because it has been, you know, it's found its niche in the found footage fan group and stuff, and like it's been really cool to see that. But it was because it was such like a unique process and such an interesting film in a weird time, like I didn't have like the expectations attached to it, and I don't feel like so precious about it, if that makes sense. Like it's such a weird thing that I'm like, yeah, oh my god, it's so awesome to me that it resonates with people, that they like it. You know, I don't feel, usually as an artist when you create something, I feel like there's so much, it's so vulnerable and like you feel so sensitive, and for some reason with this, because of the circumstances around it, I felt less of that, and that's awesome. Like I wish I could replicate that for everything, you know, where you just like are like, great, let's see what happens. Like, you know, it takes
Yeah,
all that
no, and
pressure
I
off.
mean, honestly, you can see it in the film because I mean, I've watched it a few times, and the movie just seems very natural. There's no over trying in that drama, you know, because sometimes people over try these things,
Totally.
and you can tell it's overdone. Like this, legitimately, if you didn't watch the beginning or any of it to see like the intro, you would just be like, "Oh, what's this documentary
Oh,
about?"
literally, it
Like,
was so funny because when we originally like we had distributors contacting us and stuff. Some people actually thought it was a true documentary. It was so funny. We had to be like,
well,
oh,
I mean,
sorry.
that's how I pitch it. Because I was like,
Yeah,
I watch it with my wife, and she doesn't
yeah,
like horror movies, so I'm like,
it's a documentary.
but she loves true crime and
Oh
she
yeah,
likes
see, me too.
documentaries.
I'm such a true crime junkie. Also, yes,
So I'm
totally.
like, hey, we're gonna watch this show. It's kind of about a podcast, not like you know a YouTuber. It's gonna go, they go missing, like if something happens, and we're gonna watch it. And so I got her to at least watch like 40 minutes of it or so.
That's
Um,
hilarious. She's like, what is this? Did you trick me? Is this a horror movie?
but she will. She'll ask me several times, "Is this scary?" And I'm just like, "No, I don't know what's going on."
You're like,
Um,
just watch and see.
but I found it very now knowing that it was done during pandemic times too. I found it very innovative just because you were able to do different things. You know, you got this kind of view screen, you got the interview screen, which these interviews did look legit. You know, people looked like they were talking about you and such.
Absolutely, yeah. We were super lucky. So, Frankie Guerrero, he's a DP. He's also a director and writer and does all kinds of things. But he had worked with us on a couple of our previous projects, like my web series, and he did a pilot that we shot. And so we showed him an early cut of the film because originally we had filmed those just at my house, like it just was like a blank, like a kind of just a black background and just kind of like moody and dark. And we sent him an early cut of the film just to give us his feedback. And he was like, "Oh, hey, do you want me to shoot these interview scenes like more cinematically? Like I'll like I love this. I think this film's really dope. Like I'll pop in and help you guys, and I'll shoot these interview scenes." So we reshot them at various locations, and he's just so talented, and that's why they look amazing. So yeah, shout out to Frankie. He did a great job on that.
Yeah, no, it looked good and it looked legit and everything just looked like I said. And then you had the nice contrast because then you have the security footage.
Correct. I was so interested in the security footage. I hadn't really seen it used in films like that. And there's something where you were talking about earlier, like what's in frame and what's out of frame. That is filmmaking, right? And I was so interested in that because it's really cool to play with what's happening outside that the audience isn't seeing, what's happening just out of frame. And for some reason, for me too, when I'm watching security camera footage, there's something inherently kind of I don't know, spooky about it. Like there's like where you feel like you're watching something's about to happen, right? There's something like tense about it. And I really liked that, then wanted to take
Yeah, because
that feeling.
let's face it, most of it, like you said, it's been used mostly in probably paranormal movies, right? Like,
Right.
you know, Paranormal Activity or something, where they actually legitimately have to set up security cam footages
To try to
to
catch it.
capture something.
Correct.
But you don't really have things that are caught like, I mean, there might be a few that, you know, with the ring, but there's not so much of just natural people's home security cameras
Which
catching
we
these
all
things.
have everywhere now, right? So I was interested in that. And then also there's this really famous there was a girl named Elisa Lamb who there's a hotel here in LA called the Cecil Hotel that has like a really kind of interesting history of like weird stuff happening, murders and disappearances and all kinds of stuff happening there. And she was here visiting from Canada, I believe. And there's this really weird footage that came out of her in the elevator, and she's just acting really weird, and you can't quite tell what's going on because you can't, all you can see is like you're seeing the security camera footage of the elevator, right? And you can't tell if she's talking to somebody or something weird is happening off screen. And this girl actually, like, she eventually, you know, she went missing, and it was a whole thing. So I just found that footage was like everywhere for a while, and that footage was just so compelling because of what you can't see and like the questions that it poses. And so that footage is what got me thinking about using security camera footage in that way, you know, and playing
Yeah, and you know, because I mean, we're so used to, you know, like this certain standards that, you know, most films are made on, usually like 35, whatever, maybe
yeah,
some using the 16 for wide,
correct.
55, 75
Yep.
for close up, but then it stops. you know. But then once in a while, you'll have somebody bring in a GoPro footage that, looks crazy. You can see, these crazy wide shots, or you get
Yep.
this other alternative, or you get a screen like this.
Yep.
Or, I've seen even where people are, showing like it's a found footage, so they put in a VHS tape. Now all of a sudden you got an age tape playing in something much
Correct.
more grainier.
Grainy. Yep.
And I love breaking it all down, because it just shows
Yeah.
how different media looks.
Yes. And again, back to the thing of like sound and color, right? It's like the different way that it looks and those different aspect ratios and the different, like even the texture, like the grain versus not grain, all that stuff affects how we feel emotionally when we're watching it, right? So that's like fun to play with as well, because you're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because this, even the frame rate. You
Yep.
put something, at a 60 fresh 4K, it almost looks hyper superficial. It doesn't look real.
Real, exactly. Yeah, totally.
And just playing with different things and doing things that you wouldn't normally have to do. Sometimes just getting experimental with stuff. It's kind of fun
Exactly.
just to see what it can do.
Exactly. And like, oh shit, like I never noticed that, when we do this, oh, I feel this way. You're like, wow, does that make you think of this? It's like, it's really cool to see.
See, I love that, and horror has one of my favorite genres, and that's analog horror, where it's just very spooky, realistic, kind of non-realistic things that just make you think at night.
Yep.
Y-
Totally.
y- you were saying, the girl in the elevator, like one of the most unsettling things I think in the world is seeing a human being malfunction and
Yeah.
not knowing why.
Why? Absolutely. Because you're like, exactly right. There's just something so unnerving about that. You're trying to figure out what is going on, right? Like, what's the problem? Yeah.
And in these kind of stories, I think the less is more kind of factor comes. The more that we're left with questions at the end, the better this movie becomes, because now we're just like, what is it?
What
Where is this?
happened? Yeah. And
I'm
that was like,
thinking about it.
totally. With Lexi, that was very intentional. Like, people, have very mixed opinions on the ending because we left it intentionally vague. But that was the whole point. Like, I wanted the theories to be presented, and also that was one of the challenges with the things that we showed. We couldn't have anything that tipped the scale in any one direction, where you're like, okay, this has to be a person who's actually murdering her, or this has to be a ghost, or this has to be she's faking it. We couldn't show you anything that would make you feel definitively one way or the other. It had to be explainable by like all those things, right? Because we want you, the viewer, to decide what you think happened. That was like the whole point,
I think, honestly, it's like what Blair Witch did at the end, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
didn't give you an explanation. It just showed you that something ended, and we don't know what.
What it is, yeah, exactly. And it's up to you to kind of decide what you think, right?
And it's been done in TV shows, and
Oh yeah,
I enjoy that, because I'm not always looking for that definitive ending. I almost sometimes am happy at the end to go, what the fuck did I just watch?
totally. It's I totally get that, because like there's sometimes when I find that annoying, and there's sometimes when I like it. So I understand as a viewer like wanting it wrapped up, but I also understand not wanting it wrapped up, right? It's very interesting. We had toyed with a few different endings on it, and ultimately like that was what I had envisioned from the beginning, and that was what we felt we like wanted to stick with, because
That's why the Blu-ray will have the alternate endings.
correct.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right? See?
Exactly. In case you want it wrapped up, we'll give you a wrapped up version. But yeah, we just felt it was like less satisfying to explain it and more satisfying to just leave it,
Yeah, because some things I think are just better left unsaid, or just not
Totally.
known, and
Totally.
especially in this horror genre. If you can go to sleep at night and shut the light, okay, but if you're wondering what got Lexi, then,
It
well,
sticks with
maybe
you.
you're not, maybe it got to you.
Yes, exactly. I think it sticks with you more. And like that's the point. Like it inspires discussion about like what do you guys, what do you think happened and whatever. Like that's what I like, is like it makes it sits with you and it makes you think, and hopefully it makes you like talk to people about it and try to figure it out, right?
No, and like I said, it was done really good. And I know some people aren't a fan of the genre just because not just
It's
that
a very
genre, just
polarizing genre. People love it, or they like won't touch it with the 10-foot pole, right? It's people have very, very mixed feelings on the genre as a
because
whole.
you're doing something that's really realistic in a way that a lot of people won't, that are afraid, I think, to touch, and that's the mental health aspect.
Yep.
Because there is that stigma attached to it and everything, I think that it becomes almost, it just becomes something that becomes, we know it's there, we know that everybody suffers from it, so to
Yeah,
not talk about it's just like, well, I don't know, I'm just one, like, if you're feeling anxious, say you're anxious. If you're feeling depressed, just say it. Because
totally.
at the end of the day, especially during COVID, after COVID, the world became much more isolated.
Absolutely.
And
And also
people
like
have less people to talk to.
correct.
even professionals have dried up. There's less therapists, there's less people. A lot of doctors in that field are also only doing telecom still. So
Yep.
you've lost that human interaction.
Totally, which so many people are really desperate for, right? And I feel like there's something really important about that.
So
And also, but like, you know, like there's this thing that happens when you don't talk about something, it becomes bigger. Like you're giving it more power, right? There's something that's powerful to just name something and be like, this is what it is. You know, this is anxiety, this is depression, this is whatever, and it like takes the power away from it. You know what I mean?
well,
It's just
yeah, because all of a sudden now you're not alone. There's 1,000,000,000 people with anxiety, and you're all joined together. Okay, great. You can
totally,
fight it now. Now you're not fighting an alone battle.
totally,
And that's
exactly.
why I always will tell anybody, just find a friend. It doesn't matter who. Just find someone that you trust enough to say, "Hey, I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling happy." Whatever it is, and just
Totally.
kind of mutually do that. Just because we don't have that human interaction like we used to.
Yep.
People aren't showing up at people's houses on the weekends. People aren't doing these things. Cookouts are scarce. Like it's not like it was before, growing up, especially where families would just have gatherings and such. Like
100%.
everyone's
There was much
busy.
more of a sense of community, right? Because we were
Yeah.
again, to your point, we would gather publicly and do things. And now, yeah, people are much more in their own worlds, like much more time on their phone with screens, whatever, not with people, not engaging socially, not
But even that takes your toll on your mental health. So I mean,
hugely.
so not only like in this case, like not only is Lexi's mental health being affected by A, having to perform, B,
Yep.
negativity, but
Yep.
also the viewers are getting drained as well.
Yes. Absolutely. It's like a cycle. It's like feeds itself, you know?
But one of my favorite parts was when she uses the character to come on, and it's like she's not going to come on today because you said some mean things. It's just like it's so real because sometimes I don't look at the comments a lot, but sometimes you'll see things. It's just like okay, but
People are wild
if
on the
you're
internet, right? They will say
they are,
all kinds of things. Like people are
but
crazy.
unfortunately, if you're in a vulnerable state already or something else, they'll hit you sometimes, and you're just like
Totally.
most of the time you can brush it, but sometimes it just hit you, and it's just like
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's because people are like they feel emboldened because they're like protected, right? They're like behind a screen. They're not having to face it. Like very few people would come up to you like a stranger, be like, "Hey, you suck. I don't like this" or whatever, right? That's like so weird, and no one would do that. But we
no,
behave
they
that way.
wouldn't.
But we behave that way all the time on the internet. People are just crazy the things that they'll say. So yeah, absolutely. That's the more you put yourself out there, the more of that you get. And so you have to kind of like figure out how to deal
But
with
then
it.
again, you just stay in your own world, and that's
Yeah,
kind of where the horror goes into. I do find horror to be a great outlet for all these things, though anxiety, depression, everything, because at the end of the day, I mean, real life horror is scary, but when you watch controlled horror, I find it to be almost relaxing.
it is. It is. It's like cathartic in a way, right? Definitely, definitely. And I think that to your point, like we're talking about horror, you know, having so much going for it, so many different genres and whatever. And I was talking about the risks and stuff. I think the risk taking applies not only to like the filmmaking choices, but also to the subject matter. Because I feel like you see horror tackle things like mental illness, and you see it explore things that maybe other genres of film don't. Right? It's like it's experimental in that way too, and it's like yeah, allows itself to go places that other things won't go to.
Yeah, I mean, what was one of the movies I was watching? What was it? Something Logan. I'm gonna forget the name of it. I'm really
Yeah.
bad sometimes with names.
Oh
But
my god, me too.
basically, you didn't know if the woman was facing dementia or facing a possession.
Oh, crazy. That's interesting.
And well, now it's gonna bother me. I think it's Logan. Um, the Taking of Deborah Logan. Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Okay,
And she's
yes, yes,
battling with Alzheimer's, but you don't know if it's a possession because both look
yes.
very similar. And that's the thing with mental illness. If you say you saw a ghost right now, we would say you're crazy, right?
Crazy.
That would be the first instinct. But what happens if you really saw that ghost?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
And so then you almost have a fight within yourself. You're fighting for the truth. You're fighting everything. There's so many inner battles and outer battles inside the story that it becomes so realistic because we've all been put in that place where we've seen or we know something or
Yeah.
we didn't do it,
Yeah.
but everybody says we did or they saw it or that we
Correct.
getting blamed. We've all been in that predicament.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's such a base human fear to like not be believed, right?
Yeah,
And so yeah, absolutely, to like to not be believed is crazy. So it then makes you feel crazy, and then you're questioning yourself, right? And then you're in that spiral of like, who's wrong? I swear I this is my reality, but like no one else is seeing it the same way. So am I, is the problem me? Am I crazy?
see,
That's such a base human fear to feel that
it
way.
is. I love it though because like I'm in this area. I've watched a lot of horror. I'm not, I don't do my own, one, but I've watched so much that I'm almost like desensitized to a lot of the gore and the that kind of
Totally.
stuff. So like even jump scares, I can, if I listen to the sound long enough, I can tell you when they're gonna come.
Absolutely.
But when you give me situational horror, or you give me things that are like, okay, or even things that I can I've been in there, or it feels like an anxiety attack or something. It's like,
Yes.
okay, I can relate to this. I'm fully into it. I'm
Yes.
invested. Here we go.
Yes. Totally agree.
Um, but in your case, in that movie, I was legitimately got invested in the character and just watching that whole thing and just going, where is this gonna go? Because the internet's also a very weird place. We've seen shows where, you know, there was a YouTuber back in the day that like smoked himself to death with cigarettes. There was people out there that did all these weird things, and YouTube is such a weird
Totally.
place that there is no backing, right? There is no, yeah, you can only go to a certain, there's certain things you can't do, but there's a lot of things you can
You
do that
can. Exactly.
no one's gonna say, hey, that's against restriction or
Yeah, or
not
maybe you
approved.
shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah.
There's so many pet projects on YouTube that you can find something strange, and then if they get a following, it's like, oh God. So it plays into that, and I love that whole thing because the internet to me is one of the scariest places as well, YouTube even because there's so many creepy videos out there and such.
Oh my god, totally agree, totally agree. And yeah, to
And
your
you
point,
don't
yeah,
know what's
everyone
real, what's cinematic nowadays.
exactly, exactly.
And that's why I think like I do lean towards the analog horror series because a lot of them are so realistic.
Yeah, you like that
Um,
really grounded yeah, totally.
you know, but yeah, and then you went off to make another feature though, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then, yeah, shortly after that, we did the one that we were like set to make earlier, Cold Blows the Wind. So we shot that in 2023. Is that right? Yeah. So yeah, that was awesome. That was like 19 days of filming. We got to work with Jamie Bernadette, who's been in like tons of horror stuff and was so great to work with. And that was a much more like a normal process, of filming compared to like see just with a set schedule and
I
days of filming.
unfortunately have not got to seen that
No
one yet.
worries. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still
yeah.
watching. But what would you say a good synopsis if you had
Oh
to sell
geez.
it to me?
So yeah, there's a couple that they basically drive drunk and they hit a body and they take it to the woods to bury it, and then things go crazy from there.
Ooh, see, I love those kind of movies. I'll be honest. Anything with the forest, road, couples,
Yes, yes,
I'm kind of suckered because I feel like there's such good interplay. And you've
yes,
seen a lot of movies with couples that go into woods, but when you get their dynamics together and then they're scared
yes.
and they're both scared and they're both lost. Like there's a really cheesy movie. It's called Dead End. It came out years ago.
Yeah,
Um, but it's basically a car crash, Christmas Eve,
yeah.
and then the family's just driving on this road forever, and bodies keep coming and getting taken, and you realize at the end that they died in that initial crash. But
Yes.
just watching the family handle their affairs differently and interact, and that is interesting in itself. Just watching the dynamics. So when you get like just two people, it's so isolating and so tight.
I
And
love
now
it.
they're on this and they're dealing with this struggle
Yes,
and
and
it's
the
the middle
stress
of the
of
night
that.
and
Yeah, like how is that stress impacting the relationship between the two of them, right? Like can they survive that added stress or not? Or like what dynamics are at play? What does it exacerbate by being in this extreme
I like
tense
that.
situation? I did too. It was really fun, really, really fun to explore.
And
Yeah.
then you put the drunk driving aspect, which is always, affair in general because it happens. And some people don't, it happens without thinking about it. People don't,
Yep.
they don't know their limit. And unfortunately, we still live in that world.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I do look forward to watching that one.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's on my list. It's sitting there.
Awesome. I know. Don't
um,
trust me. I get it. We have my list is so I've been so like out of touch this year with so many movies. Like, oh my god, I have so many to watch. Like I do not have time. I don't get through
and
these.
now con season's coming up, so the weekends are shot. I'm just like,
Yeah. You're like, no, I don't have time to watch all the movies. I know. It's so true. The struggle
I
is
was
real.
averaging 6 a day at one point.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's wild. Good for you.
I'd
Yeah.
wake up at 5, like, 'cause I wake up early, I would watch a couple films before the kid gets up, and then
Yeah.
in the afternoon, a few films, and at night before bed, I usually watch, and if they're good films, I'll end up, like, staying up and watching another. Some of them I go
Yeah.
to sleep to because horror sometimes is relaxing, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Fair. Totally.
Um, do you have anything else in the works coming up? Have you been writing?
Yeah, so but a few projects in the mix. We'll see. It's kind of a weird time for the industry. So honestly, I've just kind of been waiting to see like how things will settle because the dynamics in terms of like the pay and all of it is kind of crazy right now. So yes, there are definitely scripts we have in the works. And definitely we'll have something soon, but we'll see which one pops up next. Everything's kind of in the development phase and we're kind of seeing how things shake out. But yeah, for sure.
Now you did now I was gonna say now you were talking earlier because we got a couple minutes. You were talking about distribution. Now both these films are distributed to be.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, to be
how
Amazon,
is
all the
that? How is
usual
that
places.
process?
Yeah, so with Lexi, like I mentioned, we self-distributed. So we went through what's called an aggregator. So basically, you basically put your film up with them, and then they send it out everywhere. So it's not like a classic distribution. It's you're like in charge of it, kind of. But you're making it available to the platforms. And then for Copa's one, we did a traditional distribution model with an actual distributor. So they kind of all end up the same place. It's just a matter of in this day and age, most of them are getting them on all the same platforms, right? So it's really just about finding a company that you feel like is honest, is going to pay you, which is harder than it seems because a lot of these companies are very shady and don't pay their filmmakers, or if they're doing marketing and going above and beyond and that kind of thing. With Lexi, we had like a bunch of distribution offers, but we wanted to do that self-distribution so we could actually see the numbers and like see what it was doing and how it was.
Especially, I mean, it had such, like you said, such little budget, and it could have
Correct.
such marketability. Why blow it on a distribution deal?
Correct. So it was a really unique opportunity, to really like do that without any like risk to us. So that we could learn that process and kind of be better informed for like what the money was looking like. Unfortunately, in this business, like things change so fast that like by the time you're ready for the next one, the landscape looks totally different. Because for example, there was only like a year or something between Lexi and Cold Blows the Wind, but the industry had drastically shifted even in that time because Amazon and Netflix started having paid ad tiers, and all these other like major streaming services started having paid ad tiers. So that affected kind of the value of the ads on the free streaming services like your Tubies. And so the ads were basically cheaper. So we as filmmakers get paid less on those platforms now. So the dynamic had drastically shifted, just in that short amount of time.
And there's always these buyouts and mergers.
Correct. Correct. And then that could totally change it. So like, when Fox bought Tubi, they started pushing more of them. Tubi originally was like just indie stuff galore, right?
Yeah.
Then Fox bought it and then they started having all these big titles on it and they started pushing the big titles. So the indie stuff got more lost in the algorithm as well. So it's harder to make money that way too on Tubi because they're pushing more.
But it is cool because like, I mean, I've noticed that I watch a lot of the indie stuff and then I'll see recommends or what's next.
Correct.
And it'll show me a big film.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's cool for the indie person because now they're next to this big film.
But not because it's only pushing big films, and what it should be doing is pushing other indies like the one you just watched.
Oh, I get those too.
Yeah. It's not really beneficial for filmmakers in the way that you think it would be. It's actually not beneficial to have it because
it's more kind of like a cool mock-up point. Hey, I'm next to The Shining. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's cool for sure, but it really kind of changed the way that we are pushed out and like reduced it. So it hasn't really been super great for us. But
then you have all these new platforms that open. I mean, there's 3 found footage platforms.
Oh my God, there's so many popping up. So you never know which is going to be the next thing, right? So and you also like things go away all the time, right? Like Amazon used to be great for indie filmmakers, and then now it's really really hard to get your stuff up there. Things are just constantly changing and shifting, and the platforms that are very indie friendly eventually get bought out and go a different way, and then there's a new one coming up. So who knows? The point being, like, you have to really like stay on your toes and really just be as lean as possible, I think, so that you're set up to hopefully make money on things. But
see, that's why I like physical distribution. Okay, I can buy a Blu-ray, it can sit there. I don't have to worry about who's streaming it, where's it going.
Bingo. I love that. And honestly, that's been crazy for both of my projects. Like we did a physical media for Lexi. We even did a limited edition VHS because there's like a big like market or
There
there's like
is.
yeah, and people love that and it's really cool. So I'm all for physical media too. And for filmmakers too, like that's the I think the best way for us to, you can make way better money, right? Because when you're on Tubi, like the math is crazy right now. We just looked this up, but it's basically like it's like you need like 1 million views gets you like $3,000.
You could make that almost on YouTube if you're done right.
So like you're not like 1 million people watching your movie is not like it's wild. You could do the math on
Yeah,
that.
but you think about if you had 1 million people buying
That's what I
tickets at a
mean.
movie theater.
Exactly. Or buying your DVD or whatever. Like, so yeah. So we've actually we've done really well on the physical media and like that's really important. That can be
Is
a
there
great.
physical media now for sale for your films?
Yeah, yeah, both
Oh,
of them are available. Yeah, yeah, I still have a few of the actually because we did it like we did 2 runs of the VHS. So I still have a few VHSs left, and the DVDs for sure. We do those on demand for Lexi and
can you
Coco.
send me links to that
Yeah, of
after
course.
this? Oh, because I'm
Yeah,
like I said, that's awesome. I'm such a like I am. I'm a huge media collector, and even on the indie scene, I just prefer physical media, whether
I
it even be
totally
VHS. I love the nostalgia of that.
I agree. And also like there's something really again to your point, like the streamers are always like taking things off and moving them and whatever. Like you don't know where to find it, or now I gotta pay $7.99 and watch this thing over
You
here.
know
Like
how many times I have a movie in my watch list, and with everything going, I go back to watch, and now it's like
gone.
$9.99. I'm like, what?
Exactly.
I just
Exactly.
go
So
in there. I'll buy a digital version for when I'm lazy and don't want to get up, but most of the time I'm going to my Blu-ray collection or DVD collection because A, I
totally.
love the physical media to hold it. I own it. It's mine. But
Yes.
also, I mean, it's got artwork. It's got
Yes.
inserts. It's got packaging. It's got
Totally.
extras. It's got screens.
Totally. Exactly. No, I'm with you 1,000,000%. And like then you have it and like it's there, it's in my collection. Like I have it when I want it. No one's taking it away from me. It's great. I'm with you on
I
that.
bring it place. I can have it signed. I can do whatever I want. I
Yeah,
mean, like I said,
exactly.
I own it.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm happy to see that, like especially in the horror genre, people really still like physical media, and that can be like a great thing. We can still
Oh, it's
open up and
collected.
sell.
I mean, people I think will never get rid of these things. There's still people that go out and collect VHSs, DVDs, Blu-rays are big. They steal
Yep,
book editions. Every now and a 4K release gets remade and all
totally.
these new extras, and we get alternate versions of films and working versions and all this crazy stuff that we can't see that now we can see. And it's great to watch because
We
we
love it.
learn a lot about these films that we grew up watching.
Exactly. I think that's what they're like figuring out, and I hope more studios, even for big stuff, will continue to like do that because yeah, we're film nerds, right? Like we love that shit. We love to watch that. So I think like especially if you're going to buy a physical copy of something, you want all the extras. You want everything they can give you because we love it. So yeah, that's what's really great. It's like it's much more. It feels much more personal, right? It's like a different experience than just like watching it on streaming because a you have more connection, more stuff to it.
Yeah, because you're opening it, you're looking at it. Like I said,
Yes.
some of them have exclusive books or inserts, lobby cards, different things. You buy these extra versions, and I love all that. Some of them I've bought with scripts. It's like it's great.
Totally.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm all for physical media. I mean, I can see how streaming's gonna probably get tougher, even because there's so many platforms. Eventually, there's gonna probably be a bust.
100%.
With
Who yeah, and again, it's like it's just I mean, the industry in general is just consolidating so much as well. So you just have fewer and fewer companies controlling everything. So yeah, that which is never good for the creatives. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? It's
But
always
again, that's why you can self-fund, self-create, self-promote, put a website, put the movie up there, and here you go.
exactly.
I mean, there's still indie people doing premieres. There's still indie people
Totally.
out there doing film festivals
There's even a
and, and,
resurgence
and
of
all
people
that.
like kind of doing like basically like touring with their films, right? Like taking it to
Yeah.
theaters and doing screenings across the country and stuff and making, money that way and building your fan base that way. So yeah, you're seeing like a lot of people kind of because we have to be creative if you want to make money at this. You have to figure out of the box ways to do it. And so you kind of see a return to kind of some of the old things as far as like returning to physical media, returning to the theater experience, and returning to these things. And yeah,
Well, let's face it. I mean, if we're horror fans, we're horror fans. So we're gonna buy T-shirts. We're gonna buy
correct,
stuff. We're gonna buy all this stuff.
correct, exactly,
And if you can do unique stuff, like I mean, let's just say, for instance, you were able to make figures of characters in your movie, there'll be people out there that will spend money to buy it.
Correct. Yes, exactly. And sometimes you can do a lot, like you can make a lot more money, right? If you're making, you know, if it costs you like $3 to make something, you're selling it for 10, you make $7. Like I said, when somebody watches your film on Tubi, you're getting like 0.0001 cent. So I'll take the $7. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's like that's crazy. That's crazy math. Just because you would think a
Crazy
million,
math.
you would think a million views would be something.
You really would. You really would. It's wild math. Yeah, it's wild out there.
Wow. Well, like I said, we're gonna keep in touch though, because like you said, you got some great things coming in the works. We're not sure which way, but I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to also watching that other film. I
Yeah.
do recommend everybody watch both Lexi and that. Like I said, Lexi's a unique film. It's shot very differently. It's not your traditional kind of story. You gotta kind of watch it, and it's very realistic in the way, like if you ever watch YouTube or watch TikTok, especially during the pandemic, you're scrolling through, you see somebody talking, you kind of got used to them, right? You hit subscribe, you see they stream every day, you start to watch their stream, but you don't know what's going on behind it, what lurks behind it, what's even behind anything, any situation. All we see is what the camera shows us, and this movie makes you think what the camera doesn't show, and I love that.
Yes, I love that too. That's a great way to put it, like in so many ways. So I'm glad it resonated with you. I'm glad you liked it. That's awesome.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. Do you have social media at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just at Victoria Vertuga, my whole name on all the things. So you can find me everywhere at Victoria Vertuga.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. This has been great.
So fun.
And
Thanks for
definitely,
having me.
please send me the links. I will definitely grab physical merchandise,
I love
media.
it. I will for
Um,
sure.
thank you. And thank
Great.
you, everybody at home, for watching. As always, stay spooky. We're out of here.